Welcome back to Bay Sunday. Please welcome Thad Carhart, the author of Fontainebleau, An American Boy in France. All right, so you have an obsession, a love for France, and that's what inspired you to write the book. Tell us a little more.
Well, I was lucky enough as a young child. I was 4 years old when my dad, who was an Air Force officer, was transferred to Fontainebleau, which is about an hour south of Paris. So I didn't get any choice in the matter. Kids don't. And we went to France with my 4 siblings and my mom and dad. And my parents put us in French schools. So French came along with part of the package. And that really changed my life in ways I didn't suspect at the time. But once I had French and a love for France, the rest sort of played out later. I went back 30 years later with my own family. My children were toddlers, and my wife and I moved to Paris and raised our children there.
You wrote a book about France before, which was a New York Times bestseller.
Piano Shop on the Left Bank, it's called.
Right. How does this book differ? What's the experience here?
Well, the publishers, my publishers call it, and it's the same format, it's narrative nonfiction. But this is more of a memoir. But I want to stress that I'm not a public figure. I enjoy writing about France, but it's not about me, and it's really not about my family. It's about France, and it's meant to be. And so it's meant to give the reader an entree, an opening to France that they might not otherwise have. It's not just the tourist stuff. It's my lived experience, both as a child and as an adult, and what there is about France that might be engaging for readers.
As a child, what did you see growing up in that town that made you fall in love with that town and that country?
Well, what I saw, what was part of the landscape, it's a town, it still is about 20,000 people. It's not that big. And in those days, it was fairly provincial. It's only an hour to Paris. The trains were good then, and they're good now. So you can get to Paris easily. But it was really not connected regularly. And so what I saw was the chateau. It just occupies the field. It's a chateau town. And it's the biggest, and I would argue, the most interesting chateau in all of France. It's got 1,500 rooms. It's got a roof that is 5 acres large, and it's made mostly of split slate, hand-split slate. So imagine roof maintenance on that. As a child, you notice that. It also was where my dad. It's also where my dad worked. He was at the NATO command, and he was a staff officer there.
And so you were lucky enough to grow up in France because of your father and his service in the military. For those people who might be watching today, they might think, "Wow, I'd love to live in France for a while and raise my family there." Is that something that's financially possible for a lot of people to kind of just move over there? And
good question. It is, because I've done it, and my wife and I did it together, and we raised our children happily there. It turned out to be a great place to raise kids. But I'd have to say I went back to France. It wasn't some nostalgic return to France, and I lived here as a child. I must go back. I got a job, and a good one, and that's why. So if you have a good job, Paris is really a wonderful place. If you don't, it's very expensive. Almost as expensive as San Francisco.
Yeah, that's hard to believe, right?
It is hard to believe. We moved there 27 years ago, and we were sad to leave from San Francisco. But San Francisco, it wasn't pokey. It was pricey in a way, but it wasn't. Today, you say you compare Paris prices and San Francisco, and there's no comparison. It's amazing.
Growing up as a child near that chateau, do you have a specific recollection or memory of something that happened in that house or in that community that also helped you?
Well, I'd say the overall effect was we were a big family. And we were a big American family, and my dad rented a big house, this great big kind of ramshackle mansion near the chateau. So that experience was so different from we came from suburban Virginia. My dad was at the Pentagon before, and so it couldn't have been more different. That, I think, struck me more than anything. People sometimes ask me, well, when you went back, what was the most striking feature? And I'd have to say, in terms of the change, it was a visual one. Paris was, in those days, black. The stone was just permeated with coal dust because it had been heated with coal dust and wood fire smoke for hundreds of years. And then they cleaned the buildings in the 60s, and they were white. And so if you go back now...
Voila.
Voila. And it's like an albino version of Paris. That just stunned me. Many people, it's just in a generation, it went from, black. The Arc de Triomphe and Notre Dame and all the big ministries were just, I thought they were black stone, quarried some strange place in France. But no, they were just dirty, and they cleaned them, and it changed everything.
Well, Thad, thank you so much here for joining us this morning. It seems like an excellent book, and thank you so much.
Merci beaucoup.
Merci. For more information about finding Fontainebleau, log on to thadcarhart.com. That's thadcarhart.com, and that's it. For this week, we'll be back with more Bay Sunday next week.